Hey everyone, welcome to another Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We're going to be tackling something that, let's be honest, usually makes people want to run for the hills. Dense, administrative tax law. But don't worry, we are going to translate all of that into a highly practical, incredibly relatable guide. If you're operating a business, generating any sort of income, or honestly just curious about exactly how the state manages its revenues, you absolutely need to understand Vietnam's Tax Administration Law. Officially, it's known as Law 108/2025/QH15. My goal today is to give you a clear, structured roadmap of this legislation so you can navigate your legal obligations with complete 100% confidence. To get us started, I want to pose a really direct question to you. Do you know exactly what you owe? And I don't just mean a ballpark figure or a rough estimate. I mean, are you completely aware of your exact legal obligations, right down to the letter of the law? Creating that knowledge gap in your mind right now is important, because in the business world, understanding your precise legal boundaries is quite literally the only way to protect your enterprise. The days of just kind of guessing your compliance, those are entirely over. Okay, let's dive into this. We are breaking this whole thing down into 5 easy-to-follow stages. 1. Who must pay taxes? 2. Rules and prohibited acts. 3. Registration and tax declaration. 4. Deadlines, payments, and penalties. And 5. Refunds, exemptions, and write-offs. So starting with Section 1, who must pay taxes? We're defining your legal status under Article 2. Before you can even begin paying or filling out a single form, you really have to verify where you stand in the eyes of the government. The law actually draws a fascinating and very modern distinction here. On one side of the coin, you have your traditional domestic entities. So that includes organizations, households, standard local brick-and-mortar businesses. But look at the other side. The law specifically modernizes the tax net to capture foreign organizations, foreign individuals, and, this is a big one, e-commerce operations. If you are a digital platform or an overseas entity generating income within Vietnam, this law explicitly brings you into the fold. It's a crystal clear signal from the government that the digital economy is now heavily regulated. Just to firmly anchor this in the official document, Articles 1 and 2 establish the absolute scope of this legislation. Neutrally speaking, this law is designed from the ground up to comprehensively cover all state budget revenues, basically without exception. Whether it's a local coffee shop or a massive cross-border digital service, this regulatory umbrella really does cover it all. Moving right along to Section 2, Rules and Prohibited Acts, basically what you absolutely cannot do. Now, knowing your operational boundaries and avoiding legal pitfalls is just as crucial as your active compliance. What's really interesting about Article 8 is the sheer specificity of it. It outlines the absolute don'ts. Things like collusion and tax evasion are pretty obvious, right? But look at the specific actions called out: deliberately making false declarations, using someone else's tax ID, and the buying or selling of fake invoices. Furthermore, the law strictly warns against tampering with tax IT systems. The state is protecting its digital infrastructure just as fiercely as its actual financial assets. So definitely do not try to game the government's servers. It rarely ends well for anyone. But it isn't just about harsh rules and terrifying penalties. To balance out those strict prohibitions, take a look at the government's stated principle found in Article 6. It literally reads, "Tax management must ensure equality, transparency, and put the taxpayer at the center." It's an important detail because the system legally mandates a transparent, taxpayer-centric approach. Essentially, the law requires tax authorities to be just as accountable to these core principles as you are to your tax bills. All right, Section 3, Registration and Tax Declaration, the engine of compliance. Let's see how this builds, because this engine creates a perfectly chronological journey dictated by the law. On paper, it is a very straightforward 3-step process. Step 1, register to obtain your legal identification. Step 2, declare by submitting your precise forms and calculations. And Step 3, pay to fulfill those financial duties. Every single taxpayer goes through this exact cycle from start to finish. Let's demystify Step 1 for a moment. In Vietnam, this identification is your Ma Sho Thuế, or your tax ID, which is clearly defined in Article 11. Think of this as your single, unchanging digital fingerprint. It's issued to you for life. You're going to use this exact same number across all your banking, your customs declarations, and literally all administrative paperwork. If you are doing business, this number is basically your entire identity. Now, regarding step 2, the declaration part, you might be wondering what happens if disaster strikes. Well, the law actually provides critical grace periods in Article 12.4. If you have a monthly, quarterly, or per occurrence declaration and a major disruption occurs, you can get a maximum extension of 30 days. If it's an annual settlement, you get up to 60 days. This clearly maps out exactly how much extra time you legally have to get your paperwork filed when life inevitably throws a wrench in the works. Which brings us to Section 4, Deadlines, Payments, and Penalties, the cost of noncompliance. For literally any business owner, looking at the financial realities of missing those deadlines is arguably the most crucial thing for protecting your bottom line. So the key takeaway here is this tiny, seemingly insignificant number, 0.03%. But please, do not let it fool you. This is the daily late fee applied to overdue taxes. While it sounds incredibly small, the compounding danger of missing deadlines is just massive. If you ignore your obligations, this relentless daily drip will rapidly erode your profit margins. And just to ensure the gravity of this is fully understood, the stark, objective legal text from Article 16.2 explicitly defines that 0.03% daily penalty calculation. The reality is, the state's IT systems automate this entirely. There is no negotiating with a computer system once you cross that deadline. It just starts ticking, day by day, 0.03% at a time. No exceptions. Finally, we reached Section 5, Refunds, Exemptions, and Write-Offs, your protections and relief. Go ahead and take a breath because these legal mechanisms are actually designed to protect you and provide real relief when circumstances completely spiral out of your control. But to unlock that relief, we do need to isolate and translate some pretty dense legal jargon. Article 4.21 defines chuanghabbat or force majeure. In plain English, this means unforeseeable material damage suffered due to natural disasters, epidemics, fires, or sudden accidents. If you meet this incredibly strict definition, it acts as a master key to unlock government tax relief, extensions, and vital exemptions. And in the absolute most extreme cases, Article 21 actually outlines the conditions for a complete tax debt write-off. Now, these are absolute final scenarios. The taxpayer is deceased or legally declared missing, the enterprise has undergone total, finalized bankruptcy, or there has been a severe force majeure event where there is absolutely zero capability for recovery. It brings a really important balance to the law, showing that while obligations are very strict, there is a mechanism to permanently erase tax debts when it is practically impossible to collect them. And that brilliantly illustrates the entire life cycle laid out in Law 108. We've gone all the way from figuring out if you are even classified as a taxpayer, through these strict rules and deadlines, all the way to how debts are eventually settled or forgiven in extreme circumstances. I want to leave you with one final, very important thought to reflect on today. Are you legally prepared for your next tax milestone? Take the structured knowledge from this explainer, seriously review your own legal standing, and ensure you are on the right side of the timeline. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.